There's a reason you feel anxious all the time. And it's not just because of stress or pressure. It's not just your job. It's not just your relationship. It's something deeper, something quieter, something you don't want to look at, but it's there, in the silence, in the stillness, in the moments right before sleep. You feel it in your chest, that tightness, that weight, that sinking feeling you can't explain. And so you keep moving. You distract yourself with work, with scrolling, with people, with noise. But the anxiety never really goes away, because it isn't the enemy, it's the messenger. Freud once said, anxiety is the signal of danger to the psyche. It's not random. It's not meaningless. It's trying to protect you. But protect you from what? From the things you've buried. From the feelings you've ignored. From the truths you refuse to face. Anxiety is not your flaw. It's your alarm. It's your soul saying, something is wrong here. Something needs your attention. But instead of listening, you numb it. You run. You overthink. You try to control everything. And the more you run, the louder it gets. Anxiety screams when we don't listen to our pain. Let me tell you about Jonah. Jonah was always on. He was productive, efficient, reliable, but he was also anxious. Every day he woke up with a racing heart. His chest was tight before he even checked his phone. He thought he just needed better time management, more discipline, more routines. But none of it worked. The anxiety followed him everywhere. Until one day he broke down. Not because something bad happened, but because nothing made sense anymore. He had done everything right, but still felt wrong. He went to therapy out of desperation. And there, something unexpected happened. He stopped talking about his calendar and started talking about his childhood, about his father's silence, his mother's perfectionism, how he learned to perform to feel safe, how he was never allowed to feel scared, and how he was still performing now. Every task, every goal, every achievement was all a mask for the fear he never processed. That's when it clicked. His anxiety wasn't about the future. It was about the past, about the version of himself he had to abandon to survive. That abandoned self? He was knocking. He wanted to be seen. Jonah had to stop running to hear him. He had to stop fixing and start feeling. And that's where the healing began. Not with more hustle, but with more honesty. That's the truth no one tells you. Anxiety isn't cured by doing more. It's softened by being more. Being present. Being real. Being vulnerable. So if you're anxious all the time, ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Not surface fears. Not what if I fail. Deeper fears. Like what if I'm not enough? What if they leave me? What if I feel too much? Anxiety reveals the cracks in your foundation. It shows you where you still need love, where you still need boundaries, where you still haven't forgiven. But most of us fight the signal. We try to shut it up, medicate it, avoid it, pretend it's not there. But it keeps coming back. Not because it hates you, but because it wants to help you. You can't heal what you won't feel. And anxiety makes sure you feel something, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's terrifying, because that discomfort, it's the doorway, the beginning, the invitation, not to destroy you, but to awaken you, to bring you back to yourself, to what you've ignored for too long. This is not weakness. This is intelligence. Your body and your mind are working together to send a message. Will you listen, or will you keep running? You can't fight what you refuse to see, and anxiety knows that. It waits in the places you avoid, in the pauses, in the silences, in the quiet after the noise fades. You think you're escaping it, but you're only delaying it. Every time you ignore the tension, it stores deeper in your body, in your neck, in your stomach, in your breath. Your body keeps score, and anxiety is the scoreboard. It counts every moment you shut down, every time you say, "I'm fine," every time you laugh when you want to cry, every time you over-explain instead of saying no, every time you fake calm but feel chaos inside. You think suppression is strength, but suppression is survival, not healing. Anxiety comes when truth is suppressed for too long. It's your soul trying to push the truth back up, and that truth won't be silenced forever. You might keep it down for a while, but it leaks in your tone, in your posture, in your sleep, in your relationships, in how fast you speak, in how tense your jaw stays. You say, "I'm just tired," but you're emotionally starved, starved of honesty, starved of rest, starved of safety. Your anxiety is a hunger for truth, but truth requires courage, and courage feels risky, because somewhere along the way, you learned vulnerability was unsafe, that feelings make you weak, that being too much drives people away. So you built a mask, a calm face, a perfect role, a version of you that everyone likes. But that version can't breathe, and anxiety is the choking. It's your real self suffocating under the performance. And the longer you perform, the louder the anxiety gets. Because anxiety doesn't want you to fake it. It wants you to face it. Face the fear. Face the pain. Face the parts of yourself you've exiled. That terrified child. That angry teenager. That heartbroken adult. All the selves you judged or abandoned. They're still inside you. Waiting. Grieving. And they show up through anxiety. Not to hurt you, but to get your attention. Avoidance makes anxiety stronger. Because what you avoid, you empower. You give it control. You say, "I can't handle this." And anxiety says, "Exactly." It feeds on your avoidance. It expands in the shadows. Until your whole world feels unsafe. Until your own thoughts feel dangerous. Until silence feels threatening. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can learn to listen. To stop running. To stop pretending. And that's where power comes back. Not in fighting anxiety, but in sitting with it. Like a friend. Like a teacher. Like a mirror. Because anxiety shows you what matters. What you fear losing. What you've ignored. What you truly need. You think you fear the feeling. But really you fear the meaning. What it might say about you. What it might reveal. But what if it reveals your truth? What if anxiety is your truth rising? Truths like, "I'm not okay. I need help. I don't want to keep living this way." That's scary. But it's also honest. And honesty heals. Little by little. Layer by layer. So when anxiety rises, pause. Breathe. Ask, what part of me is trying to speak? And what part of me is trying to silence it? That's the inner battle. Between who you are and who you pretend to be. Between freedom and fear. Between presence and performance. The world may reward the performance, but your soul never will. And anxiety is your soul's way of saying, "I miss you. I want you back." You don't need to be fearless. You just need to stop hiding. You think anxiety means something is wrong. But what if it means something is trying to heal? What if anxiety is not chaos, but blocked clarity? What if it's your body telling you, you've betrayed yourself again? Not consciously, but quietly, subtly. In the way you say yes, when every part of you screams no. In the way you stay silent, when your truth wants to speak. in the way you smile, while inside you feel heavy. You call it stress. But stress is just the surface. What lies beneath is self-abandonment, tiny betrayals repeated daily, and your body keeps score. Anxiety is your body saying, I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of not being seen. You numb it with distraction, scrolling, working, overthinking. But the noise never silences the truth. It just delays it until your body screams through anxiety. Your chest tightens. Your heart races. You can't breathe deeply because your truth is trapped and it wants out. Anxiety rises when there's a split between who you are and who you think you have to be. That split creates tension. You live outside yourself. You become your own stranger. And that's terrifying because you don't know what you feel anymore. You don't trust your instincts. You don't know what you need. You look at others for answers. You say, tell me what to do. Tell me who I am. But nobody can answer that for you. And the more you ignore your own voice, the louder anxiety becomes. Not as punishment, but as invitation. To come back. To slow down. To listen. To remember. Your feelings aren't random. They're rooted in experience, in childhood patterns, in emotional wounds, in unspoken grief. You can't heal what you won't name. So anxiety keeps trying. It sends signals through your body, through your sleep, through your panic, through your tension, not to harm you, but to show you where to look, where you're disconnected, where you've been silenced, where you need repair. It's not just emotional, it's physiological. It lives in your nervous system. It shapes your perception. Everything feels urgent. Everything feels unsafe. Even rest feels wrong, because your body forgot what peace feels like. You run because stillness feels threatening. But healing only happens in stillness, not in escape, not in denial, but in presence. And that's where it gets hard, because presence means feeling, really feeling, the discomfort, the fear, the shame, the loss. But that's also where clarity lives, not outside of anxiety, but within it. You don't cure anxiety. You understand it. You hold it. You listen to it, like a child you once were, who never got the chance to speak. That inner child still lives in you, still waiting for safety, still waiting for someone to say, I hear you. You're safe now. You must become that someone. No external solution can replace inner safety. You can go to therapy. You can journal. You can meditate. But unless you choose to stay with yourself, none of it will stick. Because healing isn't about removing anxiety. It's about meeting it with presence, with compassion, with curiosity. What is this feeling trying to say? What part of me have I ignored? When did I start believing I'm not enough? Who taught me that love must be earned? That I must perform to be worthy? Anxiety points there. It guides you home. Even if the journey is uncomfortable, especially then. Growth is never painless. But pain is not the enemy. Disconnection is. And anxiety is your alarm, saying, come back. Reconnect. Remember who you are, not the version others expect, but the version you've buried. The real you. The soft one. The scared one. The strong one. All of them. Still waiting for your return. You keep running from your anxiety, but every road leads back to you. You run through perfection, through people-pleasing, through productivity, through avoidance, through silence, through control. But nothing works for long, because anxiety isn't something you outrun. It's something you must face. It wants to be seen, not buried. not dismissed, not medicated away. It carries meaning. It holds a message, a map, a mirror. It shows you what you've ignored, where you've disconnected, where you've been unkind to yourself. But facing it feels like death, because your ego screams, if I slow down, I'll collapse. If I stop, I'll fall apart. If I feel this, I won't survive. So you keep moving, keep pretending, keep distracting. But your body knows. It remembers the pain you avoid. It holds the emotions you suppress. It protects the parts you abandoned. And it does so through anxiety, tension in the shoulders, tightness in the jaw, racing heart, restless legs, a spinning mind. You call it random, but it's not. It's precise. It's intelligent. It's communication. So what would happen if you stopped running? If you sat down with it? If you said, I'm listening now? Most people never do, because feeling feels dangerous, but not feeling has a cost. And that cost is your peace, your presence, your power, your ability to feel joy. You numb pain, but also numb connection. You avoid fear, but also block love. You hide from truth, and truth hides from you. The cycle continues until one day you're exhausted from pretending, from performing, from pushing it down, and something inside whispers, this isn't working anymore. And that moment is sacred, because now you're ready, not to fix, not to fight, but to feel. Feeling is the first step to freedom. Not logic, not thinking, not analyzing. Feeling, the sadness, the grief, the rage, the helplessness, the disappointment, all of it, even when it makes no sense, even when it scares you. You weren't taught how. Most of us weren't. You were taught to smile, to be strong, to get over it, to move on. But healing isn't linear. It's cyclical. It's messy. It's real. It's human. And when you begin to feel, you begin to remember that you're alive, that you're not broken, that your anxiety isn't punishment. It's protection. It's a part of you, trying to help, trying to shield. But it doesn't know you've grown, that you're no longer in danger, that you can handle hard things now. You must teach it through presence, through breath, through compassion, not through force, not through shame, not through control, through allowing, through being, through listening, like holding a child who's scared, and all they want is to be held. That's your anxiety. It's asking for your care, not your judgment, not your avoidance, not your fear, but your love, your groundedness, your tenderness. You can't think your way out. You must feel your way through. And on the other side of that feeling, there's clarity, not perfection, not certainty, but clarity, a sense of knowing, of inner steadiness, of trust, not because everything is fixed, but because you've stopped abandoning yourself. That's the real healing. When you return to you, when you say, I'm not leaving anymore, I'm not silencing you anymore, I'm not pretending anymore, then the anxiety softens, not gone, but no longer overwhelming, because it's finally heard, finally met, finally embraced, and that changes everything. Anxiety is not the enemy, it's the invitation to go inward, to slow down, to listen deeply. It's the moment your soul whispers, something's off, something's missing, something wants to shift. But if you resist, you miss the message. You fight the symptoms and ignore the cause. You chase comfort and lose connection. You crave certainty, but block growth. You seek control and create chaos. It's backwards, because the healing doesn't come from making the fear disappear. It comes from understanding what it's trying to show you. Every anxious thought, every body reaction, every racing heartbeat has something to reveal. A boundary you didn't set, a truth you didn't speak, a need you ignored, a part of you abandoned. You feel anxious because you're living out of alignment. You say yes when you mean no. You stay silent to avoid conflict. You perform to feel worthy. You hustle to be seen. You shrink to be loved. You overthink to feel safe. But none of it works, because it's not the real you. It's your survival self, doing what it learned, to avoid rejection, to feel accepted, to be loved. But love that costs your truth is not love. Peace that costs your identity is not peace. And safety that costs your soul is not safe. You know this. Your body knows this. That's why you're anxious. You're trying to hold together a life that doesn't reflect you, a version of yourself you don't recognize anymore. So the anxiety grows. It gets louder, more persistent, not to hurt you, but to wake you up, to shake you out of the illusion, to lead you back to yourself. And this is the turning point. When you stop asking, how do I get rid of this? And start asking, what is this here to teach me? Because anxiety isn't just a burden. It's a guide. It reveals your pain, but also your path. It shows your wounding, but also your way forward. It's the light blinking in the dark, the smoke that warns of fire, the tension that reveals the misalignment, the call to return to your center, to your truth, to your wholeness. But it asks for courage, the courage to sit in discomfort, to listen without fixing, to trust without proof, to speak your truth even when it shakes, to set boundaries even when they hurt, to let go of people who don't see you, to slow down when the world tells you to rush. That's power. That's healing. Not in the absence of anxiety, but in your response to it. You no longer need to be ruled by fear. You can hold fear without collapsing. You can breathe through tension without running. You can feel messy emotions without labeling yourself broken. That's self-mastery. Not perfection, but presence. Not control, but connection. You become a witness, not a reactor. You feel everything, but become enslaved to nothing. That's freedom. The real kind. The kind that comes from knowing who you are and choosing that every single day, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when it costs you comfort, especially then, because that's where the transformation lives. Not in avoidance, but in awareness. Not in denial, but in devotion. Not in escaping yourself, but in returning to yourself. Anxiety brought you here, to this moment, to this truth, to this edge. And now, you choose to keep performing, or to start becoming, to keep pretending, or to start healing, to keep running, or to start remembering. Because the anxiety was never the problem. It was the signal, and now you see it clearly. Now you are ready. Now you begin.